You will never reach your destination if you keep throwing stones at every dog that barks. My friends, this one hits home. Because how many times have you found yourself drained, caught in the trap of trying to fix, explain, defend, or just keep the peace with someone who thrives on chaos? Someone toxic. Here's the truth. You don't owe anyone your peace. And today, we're going to break free from that heavy lie. But before we dive deep, if you've ever felt this struggle, hit that like button and subscribe, because I promise you, we're about to flip the script on everything you thought you knew about cutting people off. Hey folks, imagine this. You're out on a hike, feeling good, sun on your face, breeze at your back, and then you notice you're carrying this heavy backpack. You think, I packed light, right? But every step feels harder, so you stop, open it up, and inside, rocks. Heavy, pointless rocks. And here's the kicker. You've been carrying them for someone else. They handed you their weight, their issues, their drama, and you took it on like it was yours. That's what holding on to a toxic person feels like. You're carrying their weight while they walk free. Let me ask you something. How long do you think you can keep hiking like that? How far will you get before your knees buckle, before you forget that the hike was ever supposed to be enjoyable? Here's the lie we've been sold. Holding on is noble, walking away is weak. But my friends, here's what they don't tell you. Letting go is the strongest thing you'll ever do. Marcus Aurelius said it best. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. That toxic person. They're not just holding your hand, they've been holding your mind hostage. They don't just drain your energy, they rearrange your thoughts, twist your reality, and make you believe that you're the problem, that you're too sensitive, too much, too little, or just not enough. Let's break that lie wide open today. Because once you let go, once you drop that backpack full of rocks, you'll realize something. It wasn't you. It was never you. You were carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. And the moment you set them down, you don't just feel lighter, you start to come back to life. Your thoughts get clearer. Your heart feels stronger. You breathe deeper. And here's the best part. Once you stop focusing all your energy on fixing someone who doesn't want to be fixed, you can finally start focusing on you. I know. It feels scary at first. That silence after you cut them off can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff. You wonder, what if I fall? What if I made a mistake? But my friends, what if you fly? What if that silence isn't emptiness, but space for your peace to grow? Remember Seneca's words, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it, and wasting it on people who don't respect your peace. That's the biggest waste of all. So, stay with me today. Because we're not just talking about walking away, we're talking about rising higher, reclaiming your strength, and creating space for the life you deserve. This isn't about revenge or proving anything to anyone. It's about proving something to yourself. That you are worthy of peace, that you are worthy of respect, that you are worthy of people who lift you up, not weigh you down. Right now, I want you to type this in the comments. I choose my peace. Let it be your reminder, your declaration to yourself and the world. And if this message is already sparking something inside you, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because we're just getting started, and what's coming next? It might just be the permission you've been waiting for to finally let go and start living. Number 1. The fog lifts, clarity returns. You can't see your reflection in boiling water. Only when the water calms does the picture become clear. My friends, that's exactly what happens when you finally walk away from a toxic person. When you're in the middle of it, the chaos feels normal. The second guessing, the overthinking, the anxiety. It's like standing in a room full of smoke and convincing yourself you just need to squint harder to see clearly. But no matter how hard you try, the smoke blinds you. And the person holding the match? They'll swear the smoke was always there, that it's you who has the problem. Have you ever felt that way? Questioning yourself more than you question them, wondering if maybe you're overreacting, if maybe you just need to try a little harder, be a little more understanding. That's the trap. Toxic people don't just create chaos around you, they create chaos within you. They twist reality until you can't tell which way is up. They make you think their moods, their reactions, their emotional storms are somehow your responsibility, and you carry that weight like a badge of honor. But my friends, let me ask you, how long can you carry someone else's chaos before you lose yourself in it? Picture this. You're standing in a thick fog on a mountaintop. You can't see the path. Every step feels uncertain. You start to believe that maybe this is what the world looks like now, grey, blurry, uncertain. But what if I told you the fog isn't forever? That the moment you walk away from the person stirring that fog, the air starts to clear. Slowly, the landscape comes into focus. The path beneath your feet, the sky above your head, it all returns. And more importantly, you return. Here's the lie they don't want you to break. You need them to understand who you are. No, my friends, you need you to understand who you are. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment of it." That toxic person, they've been bending your judgment, distorting your view. They've made their approval your compass, their moods your weather. But you've always had the power to step out of the storm. I know why it feels difficult, because we've been taught that walking away is abandonment, that if you just explain yourself better, if you're patient enough, kind enough, forgiving enough, they'll change. But let me ask you this, how many times have you explained yourself already? How many chances have you given? How many nights have you replayed the same conversation in your mind, trying to figure out where you went wrong? And how many mornings have you woken up feeling smaller, quieter, more distant from yourself? Here's the truth. They didn't need your explanation. They needed your silence. Not the silence that comes from fear, but the silence that comes from strength. The kind of silence that says, "I no longer accept confusion as my normal." The kind of silence that lets the fog lift and brings your clarity back. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Maya, spent years in a relationship where her partner's moods dictated her peace. If he was happy, she felt safe. If he was upset, she felt like she'd failed. She twisted herself in knots, trying to anticipate his storms. And every time she questioned it, he told her she was overthinking, that she was too sensitive. But the day Maya walked away, something incredible happened. The noise stopped. The constant worry, the mental gymnastics, they all faded. And in that quiet, Maya heard something she hadn't heard in years, her own voice, her own thoughts, her own truth. That, my friends, is clarity. And it doesn't come when you explain yourself better. It comes when you stop explaining altogether. So here's what I want you to do. If this resonates, if you've ever felt that fog, write this in the comments right now. My clarity returns. Let it be your reminder, your declaration that you are done living in someone else's storm. Show yourself. Show the world around you. Because once the fog lifts, once your reflection becomes clear, you won't just see who you are, you'll see who you were always meant to be. And stay with me, my friends, because what happens next? Oh, it gets even better. Your energy comes back like a flood, and when it does, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. Number 2, you stop explaining yourself. Never waste your time trying to explain who you are to people committed to misunderstanding you. My friends, this one slices deep, because if you've ever been tangled in a toxic relationship, you know the exhausting cycle, explaining, justifying, defending, over and over again. You tell yourself that if you could just find the right words, if you could just help them see you, everything would change. But here's the painful truth. They're not listening to understand. They're listening to maintain control. And the more you explain yourself, the tighter that control becomes. Let me ask you something. How many times have you left a conversation feeling unheard? How many times have you walked away doubting yourself, wondering if you said the wrong thing, if maybe you are too sensitive, too much, or not enough? That's the silent game toxic people play. They make you question your own voice. They twist your words until they no longer sound like you. And before you know it, you're not even speaking your truth. You're just trying to avoid their next attack. It's like trying to build a bridge to someone who keeps moving the shore. Every time you think you've made progress, they shift the goalposts. And here's the worst part. You blame yourself for not reaching them. But my friends, what if the problem isn't the bridge? What if the problem is that they never intended to meet you halfway? Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." Stop explaining yourself to people who benefit from your confusion. Picture this. You're standing in front of a locked door, knocking endlessly, explaining why you deserve to come inside. But every time you knock, they add another bolt, another excuse, another reason why you're not welcome. And yet you keep standing there, convincing yourself that if you just say it right, they'll let you in. But my friends, what if I told you the real power move isn't getting through their door? It's walking away and building your own house. A place where your voice echoes freely, where you don't need permission to exist. Here's the lie we're breaking today. If I explain myself better, they'll finally understand. But let's flip that truth. The right people don't need endless explanations. The right people listen the first time. They don't twist your words into weapons. They don't make you defend your feelings like you're on trial. They meet you where you are because they respect who you are. You shouldn't have to hand someone a map just to be seen. I know why you explain, though. It's fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being rejected, fear of standing alone. But my friends, explaining yourself to someone who's committed to misunderstanding you is like watering a dead plant. No matter how much love, patience, and energy you pour into it, it won't bloom. It can't, because they've already decided to stay closed. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him David, spent years in a friendship where he constantly felt like he was walking on eggshells. Every joke was dissected, every opinion challenged, and any time David tried to explain his side, the conversation twisted into how he was the problem. He started second-guessing everything he said, questioning if he was really as insensitive as he was made to feel. But when David finally stepped back, when he stopped explaining and just stood in his truth, something shifted. The silence was deafening at first, but then it was peaceful. He realized he didn't need to prove himself to be worthy of respect. So here's your affirmation today, my friends. Write this in the comments. I owe no explanations. Let it be your armor. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your voice, your truth, is valid, even if no one else understands it. And stay with me, because next we're going to unlock something even more powerful, the flood of energy that rushes back when you stop pouring into the wrong places. Number 3, your energy returns like a flood. Stop watering dead plants and wondering why they don't grow. My friends, this one's going to hit some nerves, but it's supposed to. Because if you've ever stayed too long with someone toxic, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You pour your heart, your patience, your time into them. You give them your best energy, hoping, wishing that if you just keep giving, something will bloom. But nothing grows, nothing changes. And over time, you're the one left empty, wondering where all your energy went. Let me ask you, how often have you felt completely drained after dealing with that person? How many times have you walked away from a conversation feeling like you just ran a marathon you never signed up for? That's not just frustration, that's emotional exhaustion. Because toxic people don't just waste your time, they steal your energy, quietly, without asking. Like a slow leak in a tire, they drain you, and before you know it, you're running on fumes. Picture this. You're standing next to a dam, holding back a massive river. Behind it, power, strength, life-giving energy. But someone keeps poking holes in that dam. Little by little, your energy seeps out. You don't notice at first. Maybe you tell yourself, I'm just tired today, or it's just a rough patch. But those holes widen, and soon, you're not just tired. You're depleted. You've given away the very energy you needed to live your own life. Here's the lie they've sold you. You're strong enough to handle their storms. But here's the truth. They were never your storms to handle. Epictetus said it best. He who guards his peace guards his power. And you, my friends, have been leaving the gate wide open for someone who has no respect for what they're taking. Think about it. Every time you comfort them after their drama, every time you play peacemaker in their chaos, every time you adjust your emotions to make room for theirs, you're giving away your energy. You're spending your emotional currency on someone who only knows how to bankrupt you. And the worst part, you start believing that this is just how relationships work. That feeling drained is normal. That carrying someone else's emotional baggage is your job. But it's not. And the moment you cut them off, when you finally seal up those holes in your dam, your energy comes rushing back like a flood. And it doesn't trickle in, it pours. Suddenly, you have space in your mind, room in your heart, and strength in your body that you forgot you even had. You start waking up with more clarity, more focus. You stop carrying their weight, and you begin to feel lighter, stronger. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Sarah, was in a relationship where she played therapist more than partner. Every day was a new crisis. Every conversation, a fresh complaint. And Sarah, with her big heart, kept showing up, kept listening, kept trying to fix what wasn't hers to fix. But over time, she noticed something. She wasn't showing up for herself anymore. Her goals, forgotten. Her dreams, faded. Her smile, rare. The day she walked away, something incredible happened. Her energy came back. First it was small, taking a walk, reconnecting with friends. But soon it was bigger, pursuing passions she'd put on hold for years. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. So here's your affirmation, my friends. Write this in the comments right now. I reclaim my energy. Make it yours. Show yourself. Show the world that your energy is sacred, and you will no longer give it away to anyone who disrespects it. And stay with me, because next, we're going to confront something even more eye-opening. The brutal realization of just how much you tolerated. And trust me, once you see it, you'll never settle again. Number 4, you recognize how much you settled for. You are not a rehabilitation center for broken people. My friends, this one stings a little, doesn't it? But it needs to. Because sometimes the hardest truth to face isn't how someone treated you. It's how much you allowed, how much you tolerated, endured, and brushed under the rug, all in the name of keeping the peace. And here's the real kicker. You probably didn't even realize it while it was happening. That's how subtle it is. That's how deep the conditioning goes. Let me ask you, have you ever looked back at a relationship, a friendship, or even a family dynamic and thought, how did I put up with that? How did I not see how one-sided it was? How draining, how manipulative? My friends, that's the gift of distance. When you're standing in the storm, you normalize the chaos. You adjust, you adapt, you bend yourself into shapes you were never meant to take. You tell yourself, it's not that bad. Maybe I'm overreacting. But the moment you step out of that storm and the sky clears, that's when you see just how much damage was done. It's like living in a house with a leaky roof. At first, it's just a drip. You tell yourself, I can handle this. Maybe throw a bucket under it. But then another leak starts, and another. You patch them up, keep moving, convincing yourself that it's manageable. Until one day the ceiling caves in and you realize it was never about managing the leaks. It was about refusing to live in a house that wasn't built to protect you. Here's the lie we've been sold. Enduring mistreatment is love. Tolerating discomfort means you care. But the truth, love doesn't require you to lose yourself. Caring for someone doesn't mean sacrificing your peace. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What you allow is what will continue." And my friends, the longer you allow disrespect, manipulation, or emotional neglect, the more it becomes your normal. But that doesn't make it right. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're holding a beautiful glass vase. Every insult, every guilt trip, every backhanded compliment is like tapping that vase with a small hammer. Tiny cracks appear, barely noticeable at first. You keep holding it, pretending it's still whole. But those cracks grow, and one day it shatters completely. Not because of one big blow, but because of all those tiny hits you ignored along the way. That's what tolerating toxic behavior does to your spirit. It chips away at your confidence. It cracks your sense of worth. And by the time you notice, you've lost sight of who you were before the damage began. Let me share a story. A man I know, we'll call him Eric, spent years in a job where his boss constantly belittled him. Little comments, subtle jabs, always questioning his abilities in front of others. And Eric, like many of us, told himself, it's just how they are. I shouldn't take it personally. He tolerated it. Until one day he finally left. And only then, with some space, did he see the truth. His confidence had been worn down, his self-worth chipped away. But once he walked away, once he reclaimed his space, that confidence began to rebuild. The cracks began to mend. So here's your affirmation today, my friends. Write this in the comments. I raise my standards. Let it be your declaration. Show yourself. Show the world that you're done settling for less than you deserve. Because once you recognize how much you tolerated, you'll never allow yourself to go back. And stay with me, because next, we're going to talk about what happens when they try to come back. Oh yes, they often do. But not for the reasons you hope. Number 6, they try to come back, but not for the right reasons. The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. That right there, my friends, is the truth about toxic people. Because when you finally break free, when you finally cut that cord that's been draining you, guess what? They feel it. Oh, they feel it. But here's where it gets tricky. They don't come back because they love you. They don't come back because they've changed. No, they come back because they've lost access. They've lost their seat at the table of your peace. And that, my friends, is what they can't handle. Have you ever had someone reach out after you cut them off? A message out of nowhere. A casual, "Hey, just thinking about you." Or maybe it's an apology that feels just a little too rehearsed. You know the type. It doesn't really acknowledge what they did. It doesn't take ownership. It just brushes past the past. like you're supposed to forget everything and fall right back into their cycle. That's not love. That's control. That's them testing the waters, seeing if they can still pull the strings. Picture this. You've been a puppet in their show, whether you realized it or not. They've held the strings, tugging at your emotions, playing you like a marionette. But the moment you cut those strings, they lose their power. And what does the puppeteer do without a puppet? They panic. They scramble to get you back on those strings, back in their game, and they'll say whatever they need to say to make that happen. But here's the hard truth. They're not coming back for you. They're coming back for the control they lost. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And my friends, when you allow toxic people back into your life, your soul becomes dyed with their chaos, their manipulation, their drama. But when you protect your peace, when you keep that door closed, your soul becomes dyed with strength, with clarity, with self-respect. I know what you might be thinking. What if they really did change? What if this time it's different? But let me ask you, what actions have they shown you? Because words are cheap, my friends. Patterns are priceless. Toxic people will always show their patterns. They might come back with apologies. They might talk about the good times. They might even cry. But unless their actions change, unless their patterns break, it's the same old script, just with a new cover. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Lily, finally broke away from a toxic relationship. Her partner was the master of manipulation, guilt trips, blame shifting, the works. It took everything in Lily to walk away, and for months, silence. Until one day, her phone lit up with a message. "I miss you. I've been thinking about all the good times we had." And for a moment, she wavered. Because those memories, they're powerful. But then she remembered the nights spent questioning her worth, the emotional exhaustion, the feeling of never being enough. And she realized what he missed wasn't her. It was the control he had over her. So here's your affirmation today, my friends. Write this in the comments. I close the door for good. Let it be your shield. Show yourself. Show the world that you won't go back to what broke you. Because the real test isn't in cutting them off. It's in keeping them out. And stay with me, because next we're going to face one of the hardest parts of this journey, the loneliness that follows. But trust me, it's not what you think. Number 7, you face temporary loneliness, but then real peace. If you're afraid of being alone, you're more likely to tolerate anything. My friends, let's talk about the silence that hits after you finally cut off that toxic person. That moment when the dust settles, and for the first time in a long time, there's no more drama, no more emotional roller coaster, no more back and forth games, just quiet. And let's be honest, that quiet can feel brutal at first. Have you ever sat in that silence and felt it creeping in? That question whispering in your mind, did I make the right choice? The absence of the noise feels strange, even painful, because you got used to the chaos. You got used to their presence, even if that presence was toxic. It's like living in a house next to a train track. At first, the noise is unbearable, but after a while, you stop noticing it. And when the train finally stops, the silence feels deafening. This is the part they don't talk about enough, the loneliness that follows when you finally reclaim your peace. And my friends, it's real. But here's the truth, that loneliness, it's temporary. And what comes next, that's the gold, that's peace. But you have to sit through the silence to find it. Let me ask you, how many times have you stayed in a toxic relationship, friendship, or situation just to avoid feeling alone? How many times did the fear of that quiet keep you stuck in something that drained you? The lie we've been sold is this: it's better to have someone, even if they hurt you, than to be alone. But here's the truth: being alone is nothing compared to being mistreated. One is quiet, the other is chaos. One feels uncomfortable at first, the other chips away at your soul every single day. Picture this: you've been living in a room full of loud, clashing noises, arguments, passive-aggressive comments, guilt trips, manipulation, and one day you flip the switch. You turn off the noise. At first, the silence feels strange, like something's missing. But then, in that quiet, you hear something you forgot was there: your own heartbeat, your own thoughts, your own peace. It was always there, but the noise drowned it out. Seneca said, "Solitude is where we find ourselves." And my friends, that's what this silence really is. It's not emptiness, it's space. Space where your soul can breathe again, space where your mind can clear, space where you can start to rebuild without someone else's drama clouding your judgment. Let me share a story. A man I know, we'll call him Jason, spent years in a relationship that drained him. His partner was emotionally unpredictable, always pulling him into arguments, making him feel small. When Jason finally walked away, the silence hit hard. No more calls, no more texts, no more familiar tension. And for a while, he felt lost. That quiet felt like a void. But then, slowly, that void started to feel like peace. His mind settled. His anxiety faded. He realized he could fill that space with things that actually made him feel alive. Hobbies, friendships, growth. And that's when it hit him. He wasn't lonely. He was free. So here's your affirmation today, my friends. Write this in the comments. I embrace the silence. Let it be your shield, your comfort, your strength. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you're not afraid of being alone, if it means protecting your peace. So, as we wrap this up, remember, cutting off a toxic person isn't losing something. It's gaining everything that makes you whole again. If this message sparked something inside you, hit that like button, subscribe for more empowering content, and share this with someone who needs it. Let's grow together.